Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Best Practices for Synthetic Turf Adhesives. We have some brief housekeeping before we start. Your phones are on mute. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box in the corner of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of today's session, time permitting, or via email after. And you can always send questions to mapeidigital@mapei.com. Now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Anthony Graham. Anthony is the product manager for MAPEI's sports division. He has an extensive background in commercial construction, education, and practical experience in chemistry, engineering, and business allow him to bring a well-rounded perspective to the world of sports surface installation, one that he shares with us today. And with that, I welcome him to the microphone. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jen. I want to thank everybody who's joining us, taking your time out of your busy day. I know it's starting to wind down in the sports world for a lot of us, but we've still got projects to finish up during this crazy year. Today we're going to talk about best practices for synthetic turf. We're going to talk about sports and landscape a little bit, and we're also going to talk about our product line. What do we have to offer out there for everybody? So I was going to jump right into it. So what to be aware of when you're installing synthetic turf? First things first, just like any other flooring, substrate's important. When you're going to put down any kind of flooring, you want it to be level. When you're talking about synthetic turf, you're outside normally, so you got to worry about drainage. The install, how the sub base is done is going to reflect directly to the top of the turf. It's going to telegraph. Depending on the drainage system will dictate the target slope. If the turf is permeable or non-permeable, this also affects the type of sub-base drainage system you're going to be using. Be sure to read your turf manufacturer's recommendation or refer to STC or ASBA for directions, depending on what you're putting together. If you're looking to stabilize your sub-base, MAPEI also has a whole product line of soil stabilizers specifically designed for sports field applications, but we'll save that for another webinar, another day. Today we're here to talk about adhesives. So you got different substrates, a lot of aggregate out there, concrete, asphalt, shock pad. Again, make sure it's level, make sure your slope is correct. Landscape's a little bit different, really depends on your drainage and what you're going to do there. So turf manufacturer's recommendation, acclimation. This can't be stressed enough. This is one of the main issues we see with turf install, where it's not acclimated, it's not unrolled and allowed to come up to temperature due to thermal expansion. If you don't let your turf acclimate, you're going to wind up with either stressing of the seams, or you're going to have wrinkles or rolls. Just like any other flooring, it's going to stretch, contract, especially outside with the elements. If installed without acclimation, again, seam splitting can occur. The backing of the turf will have a lot to do with the ideal method of cutting the stitch rows, which is related to how you're going to gap when you're putting two pieces of turf together. Usually you're going to shoot for a 1/4 inch gap is ideal. But again, your turf manufacturer is going to let you know that, because it's going to depend on the blade size and also the type of infill if it's required. Generally, the blade size will cover up the gap that is recommended. Also, take note of when you're putting together your turf seams, which way the blades are facing. They kind of have a memory that is due to just the manufacturing and the synthetic turf's natural lean. If you put it together where they're butting up against each other, the industry calls it a mohawk, and it's very difficult to get out once you've got one of these. So you also need to be aware of temperature, humidity, weather. Obviously, we're outside probably 90% of the time with these turf installs. Part of acclimation, obviously. Install limitations. You got to be careful of the weather. Look at the forecast the next 24 hours prior to your installation. The weather also has a bearing effect on the method used, the type of adhesive or what have you. If you're doing an install, say like in Nevada in June, you're most likely going to wait and start your install in the morning, as this turf's going to be very, very hot in the afternoon and difficult to work with. And the reverse is true if you're doing work in Michigan in January. You might want to wait for the ground temp and the turf to warm up some and start your install maybe around noon, hopefully with the sun shining. If you install landscape turf, kind of important to note where you're putting this in relation to reflection. If your house has windows facing west and you'd like synthetic turf under it, and you're living in the south, you could end up with a situation that's pictured where the reflective light discolors or even melts the turf. This is also related to the quality of the turf you're using. So here we're going to talk about different types of installation of synthetic turf before we get into our product line. So there's sewn in. This was the original, still out there. Requires special equipment. It's very time consuming. It has a very high bond requirement. So you imagine all those little stitches are going to be related to the strength of the backing of the turf. Unfortunately, this can loosen over time. If it's done right, that's a low risk, but it can happen, and allow the seams to stretch open. Nails and stakes, that's more of a landscape application, but again, it's also very time consuming. There's no real standard out there, so there's no like an ASBA or a FIFA or ASTM method out there for doing that. And these definitely will loosen over time. So the earth is going to move, and if you're in the landscape application, whether or not it's a playground or Fido's backyard, it's very dangerous for these nails and spikes that come up. Happen to hit them or a kid plays with them, and they can rust. Hot melt adhesives. This has also been around for a while, but again, it requires special equipment. Risk of burning. You've got pot life. It is a very quick install because as the adhesive comes back to the ambient temp, it cures very quick. But it can be very difficult to clean. And also it doesn't like moisture. If you're getting out there and doing an install and say it rained or you've got morning dew, that creates a nucleation site for a failure when you're trying to bond between two surfaces with the hot melt. Then you also have solvent-based adhesives. Again, these are very fast curing, but unfortunately they're flammable. It's just the nature of it. They're difficult to work with indoors due to VOCs and other issues like that. And they can be expensive to ship. Regulatory issues come up all the time, and depending on how far you're going and where your job is, can be quite pricey. So with that said, we're going to talk about our sports turf product line. This entire product line is based off of urethane adhesives. Quick application, excellent bond strength. We've got multiple formats for different situations that we'll talk about. And it does not deteriorate, and it's non-flammable. One great thing about our sports line is we are gold certified with SCS, as an indoor air quality VOC emissions type testing. So it means it's a green product, not just it's colored green, but it's not bad for you to work with. So the first product we're going to talk about is Ultrabond Turf PU1K. It's a single component moisture cured urethane. That means that the moisture in the air acts as the required catalyst for the adhesive to cure. So it's 100% solids. You're not waiting for evaporation of say, like an acrylic type adhesive. We designed this particular adhesive to swell. That way it makes contact up with those stitch rows, especially for sports fields. Thing that's tricky with this one though is too much moisture in the air. It means too much catalyst, so it can swell very quickly on you if you have excess moisture, or if you don't have enough moisture, it can take a little bit longer to cure. So there's a little bit of an art form with this particular adhesive, but it does work very well, those that are used to it. It's ideal for any sports turf. Outstanding cured strength. FIFA has a requirement, EN 13744. Has the requirement set 75 newtons for glued seams. We exceed 300 newtons. It's a very flexible product when it's cured, and it comes in 5-gallon pails. The reason behind the 5-gallon pails is ideal for seaming via glue box, and we also have a glue box if you need one. So we've taken our PU1K, and then we had some requests talking about LV. So what does LV stand for? Is low viscosity. This means that it's the same product, same cure strength, but it's just a pourable version. It flows very easily. If you were to trial this out, it's not going to hold the ridges. The real kick with this one is it's sprayable via airless pump sprayer, sort of like a Graco 833 or other airless sprayer with probably about a minimum of 10 horsepower pump on it. Non-flammable, solvent-free. So again, a lot of those solvent adhesives out there, this kind of can give you another option if you're looking for a greener or you got VOC concerns. Minimal swell design with this one. There's no need if you're spraying it, you don't want it to swell too much. It's a different kind of backing that we're targeting. Ideal for curbs, edges, full spread systems, batting cages, field hockey, roll-up systems. Bonds very well to rubber underlayment. So if you're putting together, those field hockeys where you get multiple layers. It's also extremely flexible. This low viscosity formula. And we have this one available actually in three different formats. We have a 1 gallon, and when you buy a 1 gallon, it comes with a screw-on nozzle. So if you want to do some beads and do some tight control applications, it works well. 5 gallon comes in a pourable spout on the lid, so you don't have to take the whole lid off. That's really nice for those batting cages where you can use a stand-up squeegee or trowel to apply it. And then the 55 gallon is obviously geared towards the airless pump sprayer. There's a lot of systems out there where this one just works very well with that. We've also taken our Turf PU1K and made it into a cartridge format. The HV stands for high viscosity. It is the same formula, just like the LV is the same formula, just with high viscosity is what it stands for. The reason behind that is when you take an adhesive or any other product and put it into a cartridge, you want it to be caulkable and you want it to maintain that bead structure. You don't want it to flatten out or flow. You want it to stay where you put it. It's great for repairs, tight areas. Again, great for curbs, things of that nature. Very DIY friendly. It's fast setting and comes in the 29 fluid ounce cartridges. Comes 12 to a case. And last but not least, for our turf adhesives for the sports line, we have our 2-component Ultrabond Turf PU2K. So it's 2-component, still a urethane, but instead of using moisture as a catalyst, this chemistry is designed where it's a Part B catalyst. So with that said, there's really no weather limitations. It's going to react the same way for the most part if you're in cold weather or if you're in hot weather. Has zero swell because the moisture, if there's excess moisture in there, it's not going to bother it. Humidity is fine. Again, super high strength. That's just like the PU1K. It's not quite as flexible as a PU1K, but it is semi-flexible. It comes in a 2-gallon kit. And we encompass everything into the mixing pail. So the Part A and Part B come in the mixing pail. It's a 2-gallon kit and a 3.5-gallon pail. And the Part B sits in a packaging tray. You mix it all up in the pail. Because when you're in cold weather, it can slow down the catalyst reaction. We do make an accelerator called PU2K accelerator. Comes in a little 6-ounce fluid jar, 8 to a case. So if you guys are going to brave the weather this January and February to do an install, and you're up above the snow belt or even in Canada, it's a great product to add. It's not going to affect the rheology or the trowel pickup or the viscosity of the product because it's such a small amount, but it will allow the adhesive to cure just as quick as if you were in regular ambient temp. Last but not least, the turf bonded turf tape. Got to have something to seam when you're doing the football fields and soccer fields. Superior strength for sports application. It's a high density non-woven spun bond PET. You can't tear it. You're gonna have to cut it with a knife. It's permeable. We do not do a layer on the backside like some other seam tapes out there. This allows you to use either side. There's no guessing which side is up to bond to. And it also allows drainage. Got a lot of seams out there. If you got a multifunctional field with football, soccer, lacrosse, what have you, there's a lot of lines going out there. And allowing the seam tape to be permeable keeps that drainage system functioning as it should, no matter where it's at. Traditional 12-inch by 100 yards, and also a 60-inch by 100-foot rolls used for some logos and other areas. That'll sum up our sports product line. Something that we see now is the landscape obviously is coming into play. It's much more popular because Mrs. Smith's backyard, Fido's play area don't have 300-pound linemen grinding on the seams. The sports product line is a little bit over-engineered for most landscape turf applications. So this is why we developed this product line, and it's a lot more price conscientious, obviously, for that market. The great news is we're also indoor qualified certified, so no VOCs. Great for those lead certificates and things of that nature if you're worried about that type of project. First adhesive is Ultrabond Landscape Turf CG. CG is going to stand for commercial grade. We still wanted to do a urethane based. It is moisture cured, but we designed this one with minimal swell. It's great for seaming, full spread applications. It's very similar to our Ultrabond Turf PU1K in the way that it reacts in that nature. All weather resistant. It's great for rooftops, airports, high use pet areas. Again, commercial grade. We wanted this to be able to withstand the rigors of anything that could be thrown at the turf. Available in 1 and 4 gallon pails. Each 1 gallon pail actually comes with a small trowel that's suitable for the use of the amount of adhesive that's there. We also have our Ultrabond Landscape Turf RG. It is a residential grade. This one is not a urethane base. This is going to be a very high solids SBR. There's no swell. If you've ever used the SBR type adhesive, it's got a very high tack. It's going to have a lot of green grab that turf and put it where you want it to be. Suitable for full spread applications. It's not really ideal for seaming. Felt back synthetic turf, this works very well with. Great for indoor applications. You know, you've got decorative areas or putting greens or even training areas, CrossFit and what have you. And again, comes in available in a 1 and a 4 gallon pail. Each 1 gallon pail, again, comes with a small trowel. One thing to note that all of our adhesives, including the landscape line and sports line, is they all come colored green for aid of cleaning up. And then we also have the Ultrabond Landscape Tape. So again, it's a lot like our sports tape, but it's lower density. It's a medium density nonwoven spun bond PET. Really, this product is designed to work with the commercial grade landscape adhesive. High strength and durability. Again, it's permeable to allow drainage. And we recognize there's a lot of different size needs out there for landscape because everybody knows the size of baseball field, football field, things of that nature. Each landscape job is going to be quite diverse, so we have different sizes available for that. And now it's time for questions.
Thank you, Anthony. We do have a few questions. The first one, can your adhesives be saved? And that is if the entire pail is not used.
So all of our adhesives, except for the Turf PU2K, can be saved for later if you don't use it all. So if you don't use all of like the 5 gallon pail of the sports PU1K, the recommendation is to get some plastic wrap, you know, just like saran wrap that you would buy at your local grocery store. Get a piece of that and press it down to where it's touching the top of the adhesive. basically no air contact, and then put your lid back on, and you're good to go. You can do that with all of our adhesives, except for the 2K. The 2K, because it's a catalyst driven, you can't really cut off the moisture because that's not what it's going to cause it to cure. Once you've mixed that product, unfortunately, you've got to use what's there, or it's going to cure in the pail, and you're never going to get it out.
Okay, let's see. How do I know how much adhesive I need?
Um, well, with our sports product lineup on our tech data sheets, we have written out for full spread application with recommended trials. And we also have seams. So the typical seams that are used for sports field are going to be 12 inches wide, and they're going to come in a couple of inches. So we actually have that written in. So if you need to calculate your seaming, um, usage, you can use the tech data sheet there. And then with the landscape, it's the same deal. So refer to the tech data sheet in the particular trial. And if you ever have questions, you can always reach out to our technical group.
Perfect. Okay, one more. What are your warranty terms?
So our warranty terms are soon to be uploaded to our website. Um, with the commercial grade, I think we offer 5-year. With the landscape residential grade, it's a 1 year. And then with our sports products, if you use any of our sports adhesives with our sports seam tape, we offer an 8-year seam warranty.
All right. Well, okay, if there are any more questions, you can always send them to MAPEI Digital at mapei.com, and we'll be sure to forward them on to Anthony. And we thank you, Anthony, for a very, very informative webinar. And we thank you, everybody, for your time today. We know that you have very busy schedules, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. So I guess this concludes today's webinar. We will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.